Motorcycles are dangerous. They will never be safe. We don't ride them because they're safe. We are totally enamored with the whole thing because they're inherently dangerous.
There's a big difference between confidence and cockiness. You have to earn confidence.
Skills are definitely not enough without judgment. Proper judgment comes with practice. Just getting a motorcycle and saying, I can go 150 miles an hour, that's poor judgment.
There's only two types of riders out there. It's those who've gone down and those who are gonna go down.
Over the past 5 years, there was 300 Marines and sailors that have been killed in motorcycle accidents. The majority of those 300 were on sport bikes. That motorcycle purchase for a Marine is not just about the motorcycle. When you're in the military, you're surrounded by people almost 100% of the time. The motorcycling aspect of a Marine and a sailor's life is that one-on-one time where they're out there just riding by themselves. They don't have to worry about everything else that's going on around them. They have to worry about what's in front of them.
That's one of the greatest things about a motorcycle is when you strap on your motorcycle helmet, a lot of your problems go away and you feel free. And I mean, it's a feeling like you've never felt in the world. That's why we do it. We love it.
You get on a motorcycle and you experience a kind of freedom that, you just can't otherwise, And every time you come to a corner, you have a challenge on your hands.
Probably one of the most important things to know as a new rider is that you have to have technique and fundamental before you can have any sort of speed. If you go out there and you try to have speed or try to be fast before you have fundamentals and techniques, you're probably going to wind up getting hurt, and then you'll end up selling the bike, and it's just kind of a waste of time. You have to slow down and learn the fundamental and the technique, and then you get smooth. And then as you get smooth, you tend to get confident because everything feels really good. And once you get confidence, then you want to go fast. You can't expect to get fast before you have fundamentals and techniques. You'll end up getting hurt.
The main thing with riding any motorcycle is picking the right bike for the situation, whether it's street or dirt, picking the right gear. You got to have your leathers, your helmet, your goggles, your gloves, your boots, just all the proper stuff.
And this is what I always consider the most important part of any time you're riding a motorcycle is the helmet. This is a high-end helmet. It's DOT and smell approved. What kills me sometimes is guys will go buy a brand new bike and spend all this money on performance or looks or whatever, and then spend $100 on a helmet. That's the worst thing you can do. You gotta protect your head with a good high-end helmet.
When you get on a bike, you want to get on a bike that you feel comfortable on. A bike that has a lot of power is going to be more difficult to ride if you have less experience. The more experience you get, you learn to use that power to your advantage, but it takes time to get to that point.
You can't learn on the bike that the best guys in the world ride. You just can't learn on it. And that's okay. You just don't go from A to Z. You got to go A, B, C, D, and that's how it works.
People buy the wrong size bike for their skill level all the time. It's really sad, people crash, get hurt all the time, and it's mostly because of that. Sometimes they're not even trying to ride it like a hot dog or anything. It's just too much bike, plain and simple.
Horsepower doesn't hurt people. It's not the bike. It never was the bike, and it's never going to be the bike. It's who sits in the saddle. The guy who's sitting in the saddle either knows how to do it or he doesn't know how to do it. The fastest bike in the world is a tame pussycat in the hands of a trained rider. The slowest bike, a moped, is a deadly instrument in the wrong hands. So how do you get from rank beginner to how to do it really well? The time-honored method would be dirt bike riding. Every pro racer in the world has dirt bikes, every single one.
When you ride a dirt bike, you can be a little bit more aggressive in your learning.
When it comes to purchasing your bike and figuring out a place to go, I would definitely highly recommend going to wherever you have an open riding area, maybe a wide open field, and ride there for a few times and get comfortable with the bike. And get out where there's nothing around, nothing that you can hurt or that can hurt you.
Open desert riding is the best place you can to go learn how to ride a motorcycle. You have the openness of the desert where you can just go and you don't have a closed course where you have to make a turn here or here. You can go straight for a while and just learn how to go through the gears.
A lot of people have learned to ride in the desert. Guys that race, they grew up riding in the desert in these off-road areas. And it's really cool because there's not a lot of restrictions, not a lot of rules. You can find your own little area, make your own little track out there.
You just build your confidence, and then there's every type of jump you could find out there.
The progression of freestyle motocross is just like anything. You got to take baby steps. I didn't start out just doing tricks, you know. I have to start out with small jumps. You got to work your way up until you feel comfy, jumping the right distance. You know, just take your time. It's just baby steps with anything, really.
Awesome trail riding. You know, us as freestyle riders, we're going from point A to point B to find the jumps, but there's really epic trails in between. You'll get some canyon areas to ride through that can get pretty sharp and really fun to ride. And you know, it's something everybody can do. It's just a matter of how fast you want to do it based on your skill level.
Good outlet, and you can just kind of get away from everything and go out and go ride. It takes your mind off a lot of things, so it's pretty much a release.
It's really a simple formula going out to the desert. You take your vehicle, you take a toy or two, and it doesn't matter where you sleep. I mean, you can sleep in the back of your truck. You have some of your best times just kicking it old school with a tent and little truck.
Dune riding's really fun. You just get out there and just have a good time. It's about just railing bowls and just clicking gears, wheeling through the whoops. The jumps you find there are just different than any type of jump you'll ever find anywhere else. You lose your stomach in the air, like you're up there for so long and it's like, yeah, shift gears and hold it on and just have a good time with it.
It's fun once you kind of get the concept of it down, but once you first go out there, it's a little different than dirt. You know, dirt's more hard packed. You get more traction out in dirt, basically. So with the sand, you just kind of sink right into it.
It's a whole different kind of riding, man. The sand is pretty tricky to some people. It's not one of those things you come out and just attack with pure aggression. I like to run a paddle tire out here. Definitely recommend it to everybody. It's gonna be a little easier on your motor and also give you better performance when you're out there. It's gonna throw a lot of sand everywhere because it just packs up in these paddles and all hell breaks loose. And to save the shock has a polished steel shaft on it, which the sand loves to eat up. I get some duct tape, you know, to cover my shock up here, a couple layers of that. You should be good to go.
When you're ready to start finding some jumps, just stick in the small dunes and you can find all kinds of different stuff. These little dunes here at Klamath are a good way to get things rolling, get warmed up. It's a perfect place to find the jumps that are suitable for your needs. Jeff's hitting it on the inside, which is the smaller part. It's a good way to warm up. And then Miles just hit it over to the right more, or the left if you're looking at it, and it extends the double out. So you can start off small, get your confidence, and then move over and make it as big as you want.
You start with baby steps and start in the smaller dunes. Next thing you know, you'll be up in the big dunes and the bowls, just letting it rip with paddle tires and all that good stuff.
It's all about building your confidence. That's pretty much what riding motorcycles is about. Being confident on your bike will make you a better rider.
And when you feel comfortable on the bike out there in the desert, then go to a motocross track. Then you got 10 or 20 guys around you all the time. You got to expect that, and then you'll be ready for it.
There's many facilities, like at the track we are at today, Elsinore Motocross Park. There's different tracks for all riding capabilities. There's one for beginner, there's novice, there's the race track, and there's also the pro track.
The beauty of a big place like this, you can ride at any level, but you just have to make sure you stay within your limits. As you grow as a rider, you can get better and better, and you can ride bigger stuff and bigger tracks.
Have fun. Don't ever do something that you can't do. You'll know when you're ready to jump stuff. You know, for me, I think it's fun. You can relate with a lot of people and stuff. You meet different people at the racetrack. Like I said, you know, it's just a lot safer, and it's a lot safer going there and riding and taking somebody out there than getting taken out by a car.
For a new guy coming in that's not real familiar with riding in the dirt or riding at motocross tracks, it's definitely highly advisable to get some sort of instruction. You need to have an idea of how the bike works and just how to operate it on dirt.
When you're in a closed course environment, that's the time to test your skills. You know, things are going to be one direction and safe, where when you're out in the desert or on the street, you got to take other things into consideration.
I don't think there's ever really been a bummer day, you know, unless you crash or something. But I mean, even then, it's like, man, I crashed my dirt bike. I'm still alive to tell about it, so that's cool, you know. It's just a fun experience, and it's all around good sport.
Trail riding is a big part of riding a motorcycle.
Enduro riding is probably the most popular of all riding. You know, anybody can do it. There's a lot of places to do it, from the West Coast to the East Coast. Everywhere there's some great off-road areas, and it's all different types. We're pretty blessed in America to have such diverse terrain.
You get on some of these trails and it's just super fun to just flow with the trail. A lot of switchbacks, up and downs. You'll get a lot of rocky sections.
I love it. I don't find one jump out here, and that's kind of what I do for a living. Just coming out here and, you know, finding some great single track riding. And there's parts out here that can get really technical too and keep you on your toes. Flowing in and out of the trees, a lot of these things have amazing switchbacks. The more traffic that gets on these trails, the more berms build up.
One of the most important things when you go ride also is to go ride with a buddy. If you crash and, you know, something happens and you're by yourself, you could be stuck. It's also a great idea to get the right gear for it. Be prepared for anything that could pop up. Hopefully you can take care of your situation and still be able to have a good time and ride the trails back.
It's easy to get lost basically doing this, and you know that's why you do a little research before you come out here.
When you go to a new trail riding spot, I think the best thing to do is get a map of the area, and then you can go through it before you take off. It's a great tool for trail riding to go out and have a good time and know where you're going and keep everybody together.
You can have a lot of fun with it and just do some things that at the end of the day you're like, man, that was a good time, or that was beautiful. To me, that's awesome because it's something that everybody can relate to. It's something anybody has the opportunity and basically the skill level to do.
When you're going on just normal trails, a great bike for that is a dual sport bike.
The dual sport bikes that they're putting out these days are probably one of the coolest things at the bike shop.
You can ride it from your house on the street and go directly into the trails, ride the trails on the dirt, have a great time, back onto the street, home. It's an all-purpose bike. You can just have a great time on it. You don't got to drive your truck, unload, load.
We're here checking out a dual sport bike. Obviously, by definition, dual sport, two sports. You can ride it on the street and on the dirt. And this is the Yamaha WR250 model. It's a nice, simple bike, great learning bike, both for the street and the dirt. What we got here is up front, you know, all the kind of stuff to make it street legal. You know, you have your blinkers, speedometer, mirrors, but then you have kind of the dirt bike part of this, which is good shocks and forks to be able to handle the off-road terrain. And it's great when you're on the road too. If you come into a pothole, something like that, you're able to absorb that a lot better than you would on a standard street bike. So these things are meant to be ridden hard and beat up, and it definitely handles all that.
It's gonna happen, whether you wanna believe it or not. You're gonna drop the motorcycle when you're on different types of surfaces and things like that. So the best thing that you can do is prepare yourself for these situations, and hopping on a dual sport and getting that kind of crossover training to kind of hone your skills.
I've found the most fun I ever have riding a motorcycle is a dual sport bike. Number one, it's cheaper, it's more affordable. You can also go many more places that a sport bike cannot go. 90% of the roads in the world are unpaved, and you know, you're not doing that on a sport bike. Having a dual sport bike gives you the best of both worlds. It's a great training tool because it's not going to have as much horsepower as those big bikes, but everything's going to work the exact same, and you'll really learn to ride the limit of that bike.
The dirt bike is good because you get the control inputs. You know, you make a few mistakes. Okay, it's in the dirt. You know, it's not like you're going to buy a $10,000 sport bike, and if you make a mistake, you tilt it over, and that's $3,000 worth of damage, right? On a dirt bike, they fall over, you pick them up, brush them off, and you go again. That really is the best lead-in for a new person. Besides that, we have the training route. The training route is not everybody's going to buy a dirt bike, so the training route is the way to go. you know, education. There isn't any other way to shortcut that process. You can't wave a magic wand over somebody and all of a sudden make them a good rider. So I think those are the right routes. They're the only routes, aren't they? That's what's available. There isn't anything else. That's what you got.
If you make mistakes out there on the street, you got other people that are counting on you to know that you know what you're doing. And so you need to know what you're doing. You need to be confident before you get out on the street.
The streets are extremely dangerous because you have an uncontrolled environment. You have guardrails, curbs, other vehicles, animals, all kinds of things that are out of your control.
The street is not really where you want to cut your teeth when you're learning. Too many elements out there.
Getting out on the street for the first time on a street bike is scary. You're going down the freeway and a semi is right next to you. It's a scary thing. I mean, I even get nervous still out there.
I just feel like when you're on the street and stuff, you have idiots. I mean, you could be a good rider and have an idiot in the car and get hurt. You know, you can be an accident of somebody else's fault, crashing on a street bike. I see it all the time. You're driving down the road, you always see the white sheets, and that's not good.
The reality is, going down on a street bike, you only need one time to maybe be the worst crash you ever had and change your life forever.
On the road, what do you got? You fall off, hit a curb, you're gonna break something. Not only your bike, but you're gonna break bones. Fall off, slide into an arm coat barrier, you're gonna hurt yourself. Fall off, slide over a cliff, you're gonna hurt yourself. Fall off, slide into a car, you're gonna hurt yourself. Where is it safe to crash on the street? Well, let's see. Nowhere. Right? That place doesn't exist.
I consider at all times when I'm riding on the street, my life is at risk. And the only thing I can think about and focus on is getting home safe to my family. So I go out and I ride at my pace, and I go through my ride and I make it home safely because I've got these walls up to stay safe and get back home.
I like to ride street bikes too. I like to go out and cruise. It's a good release. You can get out, check out the scenery. And I like to go, you know, where there's not a lot of traffic out on the road, so you don't have to worry about cars as much, but I mean, you still have to have that in the back of your head anytime you're riding a street bike. For me, I use it as recreational, and I just go out and have fun on it and cruise and just have a good time because it's something totally different than dirt bike riding. And I know that, so I'm not out there pushing it, I'm just having a good time with it. Dirt bike weighs approximately 225 pounds. A street bike weighs a lot more than that. So you gotta take in that weight consideration when you're coming into corners. It can take you longer to slow down. It's harder to lean it over. It just isn't as easy to make corrections on a street bike as it is on a dirt bike.
I want to briefly run over the basic idea of why somebody would ride, for example, a cruiser bike. Nice low to the ground machine. Some people call them entry-level bikes, but I think more it's the look and feel of the cruiser bike. In any case, all motorcycles are dangerous, and learning how to ride one is learning the techniques of the bike, right? Learning a technique, some techniques on this bike is quite a bit easier than, say, a sport bike.
On a cruiser bike, the pegs are up high, so you're in a cruising position. You can't really attack the road like a sports bike can. Sports bikes are back here with that. You're in attack mode. I wanted a bike that I can just go out and cruise on and just take in the scenery and just have a good time.
buying a cruiser bike was the one for me. A sports bike, you put yourself in a lot more situations. I know with my racing background and stuff, if I was on a sports bike, I'd probably end up start pushing the limits on it. And you know, I just didn't want to get put in that position, so I went with the cruiser bike. With a cruiser bike, I take that element out of it, and I'm just out there having a good time with it.
The most important thing outside of getting the proper training is wearing the safety gear. Go out and put as much gear on your body as you possibly can, whether you're on the motocross track, whether you're on the race course, or whether you're riding the street.
Nobody who's alive, half alive and half smart, is going to go on a ride without a helmet, without gloves, or without some over-the-ankle protection.
You got to start with a helmet, and a full-face helmet's really the only way to go. Most of the accidents that I see, you know, it's this part of the helmet that's damaged. There's really no excuse not to start out with a full face helmet. This will save you a melon right here. The hard back protector. This one's made by BMW. Basically, it's just, you know, it's hard plastic, CE approved armor.
You can never have too much gear on. There's no such thing. If you're hitting the pavement, it doesn't really matter. You want nice protection in your elbows. You want nice protection in your knees. Maybe full leathers. It just depends on what you're comfortable with.
Companies out there have CE armor for every part of your body, and it all fits underneath a uniform. So there's really no excuses not to have protective gear on 100% of the time when you're riding a motorcycle.
I think a lot of it is appearance. People say, oh, I don't want to wear leathers. But there are alternatives for gear out there to make sure that you're protected and you look cool at the same time, you know? Go out and get yourself some nice triple-stitched pants that have some padding in them and some knee pads.
An appropriate jacket, whether it's a mesh jacket, whether it's a leather jacket, a combination of the two. They should all have padding and a back protector. It doesn't take much to break your back. The CE approved armor in the elbows, the shoulders, minimal back protection in most of these textile / leather jackets, but again, there's room for the insert, no reason not to wear it. Gloves are very, very important. The first thing that hits the ground when you do crash is your hands. You put your hands out. So having an appropriate motorcycle street glove, not a dirt bike glove that can easily be torn. The asphalt's going to tear right through gloves. So really a leather glove with a, you know, carbon fiber in there is really the best bet. Street boots, a necessity, a must. Protect your feet, protect your ankles. They look great, they work great. If you're going to be hitting that track day, which I suggest you do if you want to learn the limits of you and your bike, got to have those road race boots with the sliders and the appropriate protection. It just comes down to the bottom line is there's no excuses for not wearing your gear. If it's 100 degrees out, if it's 20 degrees out, there's gear for that occasion.
Like I say, dress for the crash, not for the ride.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to demonstrate not only some of the causes of a crash, but the after effects of the crash. That's what we're most interested in. We're going to do this in a full race suit, which is basically the safest thing you can get to ride motorcycles in. We'll be hitting at about 45 today. It's not going to feel good, so just imagine if you weren't prepared for a crash and you didn't have the right gear on and you weren't at a racetrack. You're going to see my bike take off, probably it's going to slide 30, 40 feet. I'm going to go for a tumble. Fortunately, today we're at a racetrack where there's a runoff area to do that, but on the street, you got a guardrail 3 feet away from you, you got trees 10 feet away from you, a ditch, you know, whatever it is that you may have there. I'm about to crash here, and you notice all the open area, and there's nothing for me to hit, and I'm still a little nervous. Picture the road, picture a guardrail, picture some trees, a rock. Think about that next time you're going too fast in the street. Just one more reason to get on the track with a purpose-built bike to push the limits of yourself and the motorcycle. So let's see what happens. I'll be honest with you, I'm excited to do it to show you guys what the repercussions of a crash are, but I'm not so excited in the sense that even with all this full gear on, with full race leathers, race boots, race gloves, and a helmet, it's still gonna hurt. This right here, folks, is why you wear your gear, right here, right now. We appear to be alive. So we're talking 50 or 60 feet that the bike and I slid. I don't even think a roadways are that wide in 2 lanes. So just imagine going off the road like that. I mean, heck, we were only doing 40 miles an hour here. I couldn't imagine, Most speed limits are 45, 50. I couldn't even imagine doing 55, 60 or anything like that and sliding off the road with gear, never mind without gear. As far as the suit goes, you'll see all the same areas we've talked about. Gloves look good. You can see the abrasion on the knuckle right here. You can see the abrasions along the outside of the hand here where there's Kevlar and double stitching. You can see the knee, obviously the first point of impact almost ripped through there, but you know, there's 2 or 3 layers of leather there, so we're good to go. My ankle hurts a little bit, that's a little tweak too, but that's mostly from slapping the ground. But again, with this hard leather, with a hard plastic out here, that took most of the impact rather than, you know, my bones. No broken bones, no sprains, and best of all, no road rash. In the end, the biggest reason for safety is so that when I do crash, I get back up and I ride not only right away, but the next day and the next day after that. There's only 2 types of riders out there. It's those who've gone down and those who are gonna go down. So you really wanna prepare yourself to not only decrease that chance, but also give yourself the best chance of getting back up and riding again the next day. You're an idiot if you don't wear your gear.
Anytime you wanna go out and push your limits or push the limits of the envelope, of the bike, of the rider, you wanna be on a closed course. You wanna be on a track where it's designed for that type of riding. When you're on a track, you don't have guardrails, you don't have cars coming at you. It's all pretty safe. Everyone's going in the same direction. They've got runoff for if you crash.
On the track, you crash, most of the time you're going to stand right up and walk away without any problem, maybe a broken bone. But if there are serious injuries, there's an ambulance right there to take care of you.
So what are sport bikes? Where did they come from? They are 100% trickle-down technology from racing. The seating position, how you have to relate to the motorcycle, how you have to operate the motorcycle, all comes down from championship riders riding these things, and they say, yeah, this works, this works, this works, and this works. And that's what you're handed when you go to the dealer and you buy any sport bike.
You don't realize, you know, in your car, you step on the gas, and it takes a while to get 60 mile an hour. But on the bike, first gear does 100 mile an hour. On every motorcycle, every 1,000. The R1 was 104 mile an hour in first gear. I've tested it, just a stock one right out of the showroom, and I think, whoa, and it gets there fast.
This is what you might call a standard bike. Really, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing when it comes right down to it, because, you know, the forks, the engine, everything about the bike is really trickle-down technology from sport bikes, and even actually from racing. But the bike has got a nice, comfortable sit-up position. The bars are raised. It's a commuter bike, very excellent for commuter bike, very comfortable. You could go to work on this bike. Again, performance is there. Now we get into the true sport bike. We've got low handlebars. We've got a relatively uncomfortable seating position compared to that. Why is it like this? It's built like that for cornering. That's what it's all about. So this is the bike for the cornering enthusiast. People ride them on the street. They go stoplight to stoplight with them. They do all kinds of things with these motorcycles, and they are the quintessential trickle-down technology. These bikes really are bred from the racetrack. My opinion is they belong on the racetrack.
Sport bikes are really meant for riding on the track, and that's what their main thing is. But if you're gonna take it onto the street, you gotta look a lot wider at what you're doing. You gotta almost act as if nobody on the road can see you.
What's it made for? It's made for the track. Where are they the most fulfilling and the most fun to ride? At the track. Not on the street. I mean, it could be transportation, fine, you know, if you're going from point A to point B, but trying to use that technology on a 2-lane road, you know, you're short selling yourself. That's not what they're built for. They are track bikes. They should be taken to the track. And I would never tell somebody not to buy one as a street bike, but I would certainly ask them to think twice about trying to figure out how to use that technology on the road, because that's not what it's built for. Once you get them in a track environment, then you really get it. Oh, That's what I actually bought here. You get the product. You get the reason that all those people put this work into these things. You get why it looks that way. You get why you spent that money on those tires. That's it. Now you're an enthusiast.
And next up is a full-on race bike. Now you notice the difference. There's no headlights, there's no mirrors, there's no turn signals. This bike is for the track only. You're not going to ride this bike around on the street, and the track is the safest place to go for either one of these bikes. This is where you want to end up if you're into track riding and you want to go fast and have a good time safely.
Once you've experienced the track, once you've gotten a taste for the track, you've gone out to the track, you're going to want to go back to the track. And you'll take your bike that looks like that, and you're going to make it look like this. You'll take the mirrors off, take the lights off, and actually go out and start to learn how to use the bike. What are they for? They're for cornering. What's so fun about riding motorcycles? Going down the straightaway? No, I don't think so. It's doing the corners. And that's what you got here is a cornering monster.
What you're going to learn on the track from going to track days or going to a school is you're going to lose the desire to go fast on the street.
What happens with riders once they experience the track is they see clearly that especially sport bikes are simply not street bikes. They find out immediately that riding them on the track is so fulfilling, so much fun. It is what they're built for. It completely levels them out for the street riding. I mean, we've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people come back and say, you know, after I came to your school, I went back out and did a ride, a Sunday ride with my friends, and I simply didn't want to try hard. I didn't want to go fast. It's the wrong place to do it. You experience the track, and you've experienced nirvana for a sport bike rider. It is what they are built for, and you get to use it. You can't do it on a 10, 12-foot, two-lane road.
It's very important to get the skills necessary and then take those skills and practice them on the track, where it's the only place that you can practice those skills. The only thing that the skills that you learn on the track will do for you is help you react to situations that could potentially cause you harm. The car pulling out in front of you. Now you know how hard you can use those brakes. Now you know how quickly you can get that bike out of the way. You know how the bike is going to react when those situations come up.
What are the limits of this machine? The training we've been doing for the Marines on our advanced motorcycle operators schools is taking the key elements and taking the riders to their limits. Once you understand those limits, you can ride anything. Only at that point where you know what the limits are you going to be able to operate cleanly and smoothly within them. Everything else is just guesswork.
It's the guy that knows how to ride the bike better that's going to make the bike. It's not the bike, you know, that's the beautiful thing. A car is 90% car. When you got a motorcycle, it's 90% rider.
It's all about building your confidence. That's pretty much what riding motorcycles is about. Being confident on your bike will make you a better rider.
There's a big difference between confidence and cockiness. You have to earn confidence. The best way, honestly, is seat time and being real with yourself and real with your abilities. People that have confidence and skills are the ones that are going to last longer out there.
You just need to know what your ability is and just build off that. It's taken us years to get this good at riding a motorcycle.
that's the goal, is start out as a young motorcyclist and end up as an old motorcyclist.
Being a former Marine, I'm extremely proud of what you guys are doing over there, and it breaks my heart that a lot of you are dying on sport bikes. So I'm trying to get involved in this to educate you guys so that we don't see you guys dying. Again, I appreciate everything that you're doing, and hopefully I can help with that endeavor. Semper Ride.
You guys do so much for us. I hope this will help you guys have fun. Semper Ride.
Thanks a lot for doing what you do to give me the opportunity to do what I do. Hopefully what we're putting together here sheds a little light on whatever kind of riding program you want to get yourself into.
Just want to thank all you guys out there for just everything you've been doing. You know, it's we really appreciate it, and we wouldn't be out here enjoying these freedoms of riding our dirt bikes and riding on, you know, public land without you guys. We really appreciate it.
If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be free. We wouldn't be doing this interview. We wouldn't even be able to buy motorcycles. And I just want to say thank you guys for all that. And come buy a motorcycle. Come ride with me. I'll show you around the track.
Riding motorcycles is probably the greatest freedom that we have for fun today. Best advice I can give you guys is, I know you guys all want to go out and have fun and rip it, but you know what? Do what I say. Wear your gear, ride within your limits, ride in an appropriate area on a bike that's suitable for you.
I want to say thanks for everything you guys have done. Most importantly, be safe on the bikes. Don't go over your head, and Semper Ride.
Be safe out there, learn how to ride properly, and enjoy the ride. Semper Ride, baby.